What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to tell you which wide receiver twos could help you possibly win your fantasy football league. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, as we did with yesterday's video, I want to talk a little bit about fantasy football. And with your fantasy football drafts hopefully looming and taking a look at some of these players, I want to go over some of the best wide receiver twos that could really help you win your fantasy football league. So I want to take a look at some of these players, and I want to start off with wide receiver Cooper Kupp coming out of the Los Angeles Rams. He is one of those guys that honestly you can rely upon, just as the Rams do, to be their wide receiver one. But Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Cooper Kupp and why he should be a star on somebody's fantasy football team?
Look, Cooper Kupp has been the wide receiver one for the Rams for a long time now, and with Jared Goff as the quarterback, he was one of the most viable targets you could have in fantasy football. Now you add Matthew Stafford to the mix, and this is a guy who worked alongside Calvin Johnson, making him a Hall of Famer. He's a guy who knows how to command an offense. He's a guy who knows how to understand defenses, and he can put his wide receivers in great positions to make big plays. Cooper Kupp is already making those big plays on his own, but now with the addition of Matthew Stafford, I think that his potential rises even more. Last season, he had 124 targets and 92 receptions for just under 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not the most amount of touchdowns that you would like, not as much as he's usually normal to, but he did have a down year. He was dropping some passes, and that was due to partially Jared Goff's fault. I think now that you add Matthew Stafford to the mix, he has a lot more accurate passes. He's going to have a lot more opportunities. We all know how much Matthew Stafford loves his wide receivers, and Cooper Kupp is going to continue being that guy for this offense. I think he's somebody that a lot of people just aren't thinking about. A lot of people are hearing about Deshaun Jackson right now and are staying off of Cooper Kupp, but he's a guy who could really be a solid wide receiver two for you. He's a guy who has the potential to be a wide receiver one, so he's definitely going to be a steal at wide receiver two.
Absolutely. I really like what Cooper Kupp brings to the Rams offense and what he could possibly bring to your fantasy football team. Next up, we have wide receiver Corey Davis coming over from the Tennessee Titans to the New York Jets. Now, when you take a look at the Tennessee Titans last year, they were run by Arthur Smith, who is now in Atlanta. But if you take a look at the Titans offense, what'd they do most? They ran the ball. So Corey Davis didn't have as many opportunities as he would in a normal offense that's not headed by a monster at running back named Derrick Henry. Now he's with the New York Jets. They're looking to air this ball out with Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator. Corey Davis is going to be in line for a lot more targets this season. He seems to have built a really nice rapport with Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback, and just seeing what these two have to offer in the preseason should get you excited. Taking a look at Corey Davis last year, he didn't even play every single game. He was out with COVID-19 protocols. And taking a look, he played 14 games. He had 65 receptions, 984 yards. That's in 14 games. He also topped that off with 5 touchdowns. Corey Davis is a big target for this Jets offense. He's going to be one of those guys that is relied upon to help move the ball up and down the football field with no clear shot at the running back position. I look at Corey Davis as the guy that is going to get the line share of the targets here. I think he is going to be one of those guys that you look back and say, how the hell did he make it so far in the draft? I believe Corey Davis could win you your fantasy football league. Next up, we have Brandon Aiyuk. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about Aiyuk and what he can bring to the table?
Fun fact, Brandon Aiyuk was actually a guy that the 49ers were targeting all of last year leading up to the draft, and he was a guy they had pegged above pretty much every other wide receiver in that draft class that included Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, but they were able to drop back and still get the guy they wanted, and now you see exactly why. Brandon Aiyuk in this system is a major focal point. He is consistent, he has great hands, and he has burning speed. I think that Brandon Aiyuk fits perfectly in Kyle Shanahan's system. And even in last season where Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't playing at his best and Brandon Ayuk didn't play all the time, he still had 96 targets with 60 catches and 750 yards for 5 touchdowns. And Brandon Ayuk can also be used as a running back in those end around packages, similar to how you see Robert Woods used with the Los Angeles Rams. Brandon Ayuk offers a lot of potential, and he was nowhere even close to his ceiling last year. With Deebo Samuel on their side, a lot of teams have to be wary about how much they're double covering Brandon Ayuk. I think he's going to find himself in a lot of favorable one-on-one matchups where Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance are going to take advantage of them. I think Brandon Ayuk route tree is limitless, and I think that's why Kyle Shanahan loves him so much. I think Brandon Ayuk was just scratching the surface of what he's going to do for this team, and I think this is going to be his breakout year. I don't expect him to be a wide receiver 2. He is going to be a full-blown wide receiver 1 for pretty much the entire season, but you can absolutely steal him in your fantasy football league.
Absolutely. And speaking of rookie wide receivers, somebody you've already mentioned, Jerry Jeudy with the Denver Broncos. He really lit it up last year, playing in all 16 games. He had 52 receptions for 856 yards. His longest reception went for 92 yards and a touchdown. He had 3 touchdowns on the season. 75% of the passes that he hauled in were for a first down. So they look at him in crunch time. They look at him and rely upon him to be the focal point of this passing offense, even with players like Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, so on and so forth on the roster. Jerry Jeudy is that guy. So I take a look at Jerry Jeudy, and I think he can really be one of those guys that can help you win your team. Looking at where he's being drafted, it's toward the later rounds, looking at rounds 7 and 8. That's usually where he's falling, and Jerry Jeudy can easily be one of the guys that can help you win your league. Jerry Jeudy, don't be afraid of the offense that he's in. Teddy Bridgewater just named the starter for this offense. Drew Lock was a bit inconsistent. Now he has a little more consistency. He's built some rapport with Teddy Bridgewater this offseason. Look for Jerry Jeudy to be the security blanket for Bridgewater, just like Robbie Anderson was. Similar builds in the receivers themselves, similar skill sets. I like what Jerry Jeudy brings to this offense, and I believe that he can help you in your fantasy football league. Finally, we have Juju Smith-Schuster from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nick, tell us a little bit about Juju and what he can bring to the table.
Juju Smith-Schuster, one of the most iconic slot receivers we have in the NFL right now. He's a guy that is continuously overshadowed because of Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool's emergence with Ben Roethlisberger last season. Juju Smith-Schuster came back to this team because he knows how he's used in the system. He knows that he's going to get a consistent amount of targets. And even last season, with those guys on the field, Juju Smith-Schuster got his own. He had 128 targets and 97 catches for 831 yards and 9 touchdowns. Juju Smith-Schuster can still put up big games with those other guys there. Don't be discouraged because of those two. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to get his. He has been working with Big Ben longer than both of those have been there. And Juju is going to be that sure-handed guy that Big Ben can rely upon. Juju is going to continue to work against the nickel corners, and he's going to take advantage of those inside routes. He is a guy that is very hard to cover because of his size and ability to break away from corners. Juju Smith-Schuster is not a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3. He is still a very big focal point of this offense, and he still needs to be treated as one of the top wideouts available in fantasy football.
Absolutely. I love Juju Smith-Schuster as a player. I think he's incredible. Maybe bench him when he's starting to do his TikTok dances before the game, but that's something you have to look at on a week-by-week basis. All right, well, let us know in the comments down below what you think of this list, what you think of the players that we mentioned, and let us know if you want us to continue doing fantasy content. Something we enjoy, but I want to hear from you guys if it's something that you guys enjoy as well. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.